Hello everyone. Here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you're tuning in from. See, hello. Happy Monday. Um, okay. Welcome, Sue. Welcome. Yeah, let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I have quite a few things I wanted to show you today. Um, today is our plant clinic. So if you do have any questions about situation symptoms you're finding with your plants and things like that, we will be, kind of directing the conversation towards that. However, this weekend was crazy. So Brian and I went to the Aqua Genera pop-up. So we completely missed the deadline to pre-order. So we were able to go and actually check it out, and we ended up bringing home a few plants. So I wanted to show you that. Um, Seriously, check out if Aqua Genera is coming near you to do a pop-up because the variety is amazing. Um, and then it just so happened that both Brian and I found local sellers in our neighborhood that were selling some plants, some cuttings and things. And so the weekend was the best time to pick them up. So we went to pick them up and they were just amazing finds. So I definitely wanted to share that with you. And then one of our favorite places, which is in Union Square. It's the Union Square Green Market. And so a couple days a week, there are some plant sellers there. And we decided, since we were already enjoying ourselves, getting some plants, that we'd swing by and see. And I found a couple cool things. So just gonna do a quick plant haul for you, just to show you the craziness that ensued over the weekend. For those of you that don't know, we were away for a month in Costa Rica. And before then, during the late fall, we had an issue with some thrips. So we had some of our plants that we really loved were not in the best place. And so we left, care instructions and things while we were away, but we were away for a month. And um, some of them just needed that extra care and attention, and they didn't get that during that time. And so we lost a little over a dozen plants. And so yeah, so we were pretty upset because a lot of the ones that we lost were plants that we really loved. So we've been kind of replacing those with the same species, and sure enough, I found another one of those plants at the Equigenera pop-up, and I originally grabbed a little one, and then Brian, my husband, who's a fellow plant lover, saw the larger one, um, and we ended up going with that one instead. So I will show you what in the world I'm talking about. I'm going to try to move my computer back because I have plants all over my desk. So let me not tip anything over. But all right, to show you. So one of the plants that we lost was our El Chaco Red, which was this giant freaking plant. It was gorgeous. It was living on my desk. It had dealt with thrips and it survived. So that was the big thing. It lost one leaf, and otherwise, this thing had huge leaves. It was absolutely gorgeous, but it did not fare well when we were in El Salvador, and then it was kind of coming back. It gave us leaves again, and we thought it was going to be okay. And then the trip to Costa Rica did it in. It needed that. We needed to be on top of it more. So no long trips planned anytime soon. But we finally got another El Chaco Red, and this is huge, absolutely gorgeous plant. I'm absolutely in love, and it has that deep red here. You can see that caterpillar where that petiole is emerging. And they get this kind of red. Let me see if there you go. You kind of see it. This red uh, in the back. So beautiful, gorgeous plant. Super excited. So really nice to have it back in the house at a fraction of the price, I must say, that I got the first one. So this was so much cheaper. I think this was like 3 times cheaper than what I paid for the other one. So um, very happy to find that. And then here we go. I found I originally went my plan when I got to the pop-up, I wanted to get one type of Hoya and maybe a type of a mini orchid, and if they had any cool like tropical succulents like a jatropha or something like that. They had no succulents that at least that I could see. Um, but they did have a nice variety of Hoya and they had a huge variety of mini orchids. So I did grab this mini orchid. I started taking it apart this morning, but then I said, well, like I'm gonna show it. So um, I, I have to rehydrate it and clean it up because there were some flowers on here that have already died. But this is an epidendrum, sorry, epidendron Ivan Portilli. But uh, these are the flowers, and this is the little cluster. So I'm going to be setting up a terrarium. Oh, there goes my earring. Okay, let me take off the other one. It just separated from the little clip thing. Okay. Um, Here we go. So you can see all those aerial roots. So these grow, they're known as a porpax type of epidendrum. And so they grow kind of like a mass, like a mound, and they kind of creep outward. And I really thought that was really interesting. So I wanted to give it a try. So this is what I got. And I'm going to be setting it up in like a little terrarium. I actually have some clay and things like that. I want to do something fun with it, so I am going to film that process. So I'll show you what I do with this little orchid. And then this is the Hoya I got. So look at the size of these leaves. So this is a Hoya let me see. Surrey-Joanensis. Yeah. Uh, I have read about these. I haven't owned one yet. I do own, I think it's called the Arianogensis. And but the leaves are much more oblong and they point more downwards. Uh, I just really love the venation. It's not as succulent as the other ones that I have, slightly softer. But these huge leaves, and the new leaves are coming in. This is a new leaf. It's coming in with like a red kind of hue to it. Maybe you can kind of see that in the back here. Really beautiful. I love large leaved Hoyas. I have quite a few Hoyas. This huge one here has been going. Um, I seriously love Hoyas, and so seeing this huge, nice, gorgeous leaved Hoya, I needed to grab it for 20 bucks. Not bad at all. So had to grab that one. So they had a really, if I had, I made myself a budget. If I had a larger budget, I probably would have gotten a bunch of other Hoyas, but I had to keep it locked in there. And then Brian picked his plant, and he only picked one, and amazing. And so we had a golden dragon philodendron cutting that we were raising up, and it had finally was rooted. It looked great. It did not survive our trip to Costa Rica. And so, which I was surprised because it liked to dry out, get watered, and would look fine. It did not, because, well, during our trip to Costa Rica here, the temperature in New York City plummeted. It was like a deep freeze. There was, storms. There was like snowfall and everything. It was super, super cold during that time, and that's when we were gone. So yeah, it happened very, very quickly. So the humidity dropped very quickly. The temperature dropped very quickly. Um, it was like a literal perfect storm. So, so that cutting did not survive. And so we really, really loved that cutting. And sure enough, Brian spotted um, the mottled dragon, which is the golden dragon, but variegated. And he had picked it up. It was one of the first plants he picked up, and he walked away. He looked around and then said, I need that plant. And so there were so many people, and there were people kind of approaching that bench, and I kept going, Brian, just go, 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 just say excuse me, just say excuse me. And I was like, because it was the only one there. And I was like, just say excuse me, come on, let's go, because I was so afraid someone was gonna grab it once we decided that we did want it. And thankfully nobody did. So, but this is the mottled dragon. Look at these leaves, absolutely gorgeous shape, beautiful, beautiful variegation. And look at the size of this thing, absolutely beautiful. Now, it was a choice between the philodendron serpens, which is quite gorgeous, and the mottled dragon. And when we were really thinking about it, we're like, listen, we have pretty busy lives. The serpens is going to require a little bit more care. Um, they, while they don't want to stay wet all the time. Once they start to dry out, you want to give them a nice water. Um, these are just a little bit more hardy. Now, we only had a cutting. It was a one leaf cutting with one node. So, so us being gone for a month just didn't do it because it was just establishing itself. But overall, this is a much hardier plant, and so I think that really played into our decision. Like, okay, yeah, I think this would probably be the better option between the two. But this is a huge, beautiful plant. Um, it shipped pretty well. It has some mechanical damage, so that just means like during shipping that there was some breakage. But otherwise, it's absolutely beautiful. So yeah, we're uh we're really excited with those additions. Um and yeah, so that was Aqua Genera. Super excited. Now our local buys. These I went to pick this one up. It was literally about 10 minutes away from where we live. And according to the picture, I thought it was a much smaller plant. And so, I mean, I wanted it anyway. It's a peperomia. I collect peperomias. So I thought, yeah, I definitely want this. And it was a peperomia maculosa and looks beautiful. I get there, she brings out the plant, super cheap, $20, super cheap, but it's so much bigger than I thought. And I mean, not that I'm complaining, it's absolutely beautiful, but I literally took the bag and I was just in shock. And then as I walked back to Brian, I was just like, and I need to show you this. So this is a peperomia maculosa, and the common name is peperomia espejito, which means little mirror if you speak Spanish. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this, everyone. Has purple dots here. Absolutely beautiful plant. And she has it in this, which was surprising. She's had it in this for about a year or so. She says that all I have to do is make sure that the water line does not drop past this point. So as long as the very bottom has water so that it's getting water, it was perfectly fine. She did not have it in like a grow cabinet or anything. No grow light. She said just put it somewhere where it's not getting hit directly by the sunlight, which is fine because peperomia are interior species, so they prefer, especially the more succulent ones. Some of them like the obtusifolia can deal with a little bit more direct sun, but some of these larger ones like the globulosa and things and the elongata, they don't want direct sunlight. They will burn. Uh, but I'm surprised about the reservoir. But she said, yeah, just regular room temp. She had no extra humidifier for it. She said it was one of the most carefree plants. But she's just making room for other plants in her collection. And so, yeah, she's watched this guy grow and was like, all right, time to get another plant. And so she was selling a couple plants. I was just enamored. I look at the size of this thing, it's huge. And there's this new leaf coming in. Super excited about this. I was just staring at it. I was just staring at it, and I keep staring at it, keep picking it up and staring at it. So I think I might leave it here on my desk. So we'll find out because quite beautiful, and it's very ironic that the common name is espejito, which is little mirror, because I do find myself staring at at the leaves, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm in love. I'm in love with this. It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I can't. I can't. I don't even want to put it down right now, but I will. I will. I have to show you the other one. Um, oh my God, so gorgeous. Then somebody else, also about 4 minutes away from us, was selling a bunch of cuttings for pothos. And anytime I see pothos cuttings, they root really well. So of course I wanted them. And it was a different, she had a five cuttings for $10. So I said, sure. So I put them into this. So this was a what's it? A toothbrush holder that I got from Target. It's like a solid like stone type of thing. Um, and we have like another toothbrush holder, so it's just been in my cabinet. And so I thought, wow, it would look really, really pretty if I put some cuttings in there that I want to stay upright. And it's really heavy, so I don't have to be afraid of it tipping over or anything. So yeah, so I put the cuttings in here. So we have a Gisenia, which is my favorite type of pothos, and then the Orium, so the regular golden pothos. There's the Manjula, and then the pearls and jade, and a neon. So really pretty cuttings. And I am keeping this on my desk. So I have this little set here. And then Brian uh, found this one on Facebook Marketplace, and he's been wanting this one for a little bit. And I think it was like $25 or $30, something like that. So it was really cheap for this. And this is the Adansonia Mint. Monstera Adansonii Mint. So really gorgeous specimen. And we just picked it up yesterday, so it's just, we have to, it's right now it's in pond. We're gonna leave it in pond for now. But really nice size leaves, gorgeous, gorgeous variegation. So that one was great. And then the last one that we got from a local seller, he was selling $10 per cutting. So I wanted two, one for me and one for Brian. We already have a Ring of Fire, but it's a philodendron Ring of Fire, and it's been giving us pretty consistent growth, and it's lovely. But I really wanted to kind of start one off, and since one is doing so well in our bedroom, I kind of wanted to see if we could put one in our living room or in our kitchen. So, because I really like how it looks, I really love the leaves. And so he was selling them for $10 a cutting. Again, I said I wanted two. He had four left, so he just brought all four, said I could pick, and then said, you know what? If you want all four, I'll give it to you for 30. And I said, yes. So, so I got four of these. So these are Ring of Fire. Here we go. Ring of Fire. It's a philodendron, so they already have some roots coming in. Really, really gorgeous. It's a very light type of variegation, and so I don't think the camera is going to take it. There's a little bit of mechanical damage, but not too bad. But I don't think the camera is going to take it. Their variegation is like really cool. it's very pretty. And when they first merge, it's like pink, really, really pretty. But yeah, so I have now four cuttings to start. So I might start one in our kitchen. I might put another one in our bedroom since the one that we already have is doing so well. And then maybe put two together in our living room and see how they do. So we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated on these because I super happy to have found those. I remember when Ring of Fires were just ridiculously expensive, so it's so cool. And then the last ones are we stopped by Petal, and I'm gonna save the last one for a plant clinic commentary because I that's why I got it. Ooh, um, this will be a fun project. But I got a Hindu rope, and so this is the um, Hoya compacta. And so I got this one. I got a Peperomia Hope and $3. And then this one was 10, but I had one for many years that had flowered for me. It was twice. It was absolutely gorgeous. Loved it so much, and I lost it like 2 winters ago. So I wanted to replace it, and so I saw this guy, and I said, "All right, this one's a nice size. I think I'll just grab it." Um, then this is probably my third Kalanchoe copper spoon, but I love copper spoons. I also have the silver spoon. But Kalanchoes, I have so many Kalanchoes and a lot of Chrysulas. Um, but this is the Kalanchoe copper spoon. Love this. I keep these in my southeast window and they get this really bright copper color and I love it. I love it so much. So whenever I see some of these available, especially this one was $8. I have to grab them, especially this gorgeous size. So yeah, this is my third one. I don't know about any of you if you buy repeats of plants. I definitely do. When I really love them and they do really well in the house, I end up getting repeats because they're just so beautiful. So yeah, and I have the silver spoon, right? It's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And then this really cool Chrysula that I've never seen before, and it's Chrysula elixis picturata. Never seen this before. Look at this thing. So it's apparently a Chrysula. So this is relative to like jade, which is Chrysula ovata. Um, I have never seen this. If you really look at it, you can see that there are a bunch of little Chrysulas that are bunched together, but they have this really beautiful burgundy bottom. And I just got that other Chrysula with a really gorgeous burgundy bottom, but it grows like a carpet. So it's a spreader, and it grows like a mound. Uh, and I've never seen this before. And it's so hard. I don't think the camera will pick it up, but oh, there you go. It has these burgundy splotches all over. It looks so beautiful, so interesting. I love the shade of green. Um, so I just figured I'd give this one a try. Even the edges are kind of serrated. It kind of looks like they're furry all along the edges. And it's just clusters of these over and over and over again. Um, really beautiful. So I've never seen this. Let me know in the chat if you've seen this. I have never seen this type of Chrysula. And I just literally caught it. And like in my eye line, and I was like, "What is that?" And I was so surprised. I thought maybe it was a type of sedum or something. Um, so it's a type of Chrysula. Somebody asked the last one. I think you're the copper spoon, huge. Um, and the copper spoons they can get really large. So this is still relatively small. I have another one that's about this size and one that's smaller. but I've seen them get really, really nice size. So Kalanchoe's get really nice size. Oh, this one, somebody had just asked for the name Crassula exilis. So it's Crassula exilis, Exilis. And then Picturata is the variety name. So it's like picture. So Pictur, like picture, and then Ada, ATA, Picturata. Never seen this before. It says to let it dry and bright to medium light. So I might put this pulled away from my western window. I have a, um, a little pot that I want to put that's like off to the side from the window. So it gets a little bit of light, but it's not bombarded. And I think that might be a really good spot for it. So I'm going to try it out. And yeah, and try to do that. And then the last one that I picked up, because it was $8. And we lost our fuzzy petiole, as well as one of the plants that we lost during our trip. So I really wanted a philodendron fuzzy petiole again. And when I saw this one, it is not in good shape, but it was only $8. And so I figured this will be a fun project. So just to show you, look at this fuzzy petiole. It's a mess. So there are 3 plants in here. It's probably really difficult to make that out, but there are 3 separate plants in this. It was $8. This one was completely out, so I don't know if you can see that. So it's only connected by its roots. It's completely not even like they are a wreck. Um, they have been through it. But $8, pretty good deal. I have other folks that are selling these in their plant shops for $20, $25, and they're upright, of course. But $8 for 3 plants? Sure. So I'm going to actually separate these out. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let this acclimate to the house at least 2 weeks before I go a little crazy. Now because these 2 are actually in the dirt, but the one that's hanging out, it's already out of the dirt, and so I'm actually gonna be um, removing this. That root looks like it's dehydrated, so I'm just gonna do a clean cut and start that one fresh. But the other 2 are in the mix, so I'm gonna let that acclimate. But this is completely out, so it doesn't matter. So I'm going to clip that one and set that up in some substrate, and hopefully it takes. And then the others wait 2 weeks, and then I will remove them from here and put them into 2 separate pots. So I will have 3 of them. I really, really love fuzzy petioles. They get their name because of their petioles. If you can see how fuzzy they are, really cool looking plant. I love that red that they have. They're so beautiful. It's a really interesting philodendron, and so if that is a plant that would be of interest to you, definitely check it out. They get really nice sized leaves as well. And so I'm going to, yeah, going to enjoy this one. This is going to be a fun project. So it looks like it must have been broken during the shipping, and then, or it must have come out of the soil during the shipping. So it was only hanging on by one root, but the root is now just completely dry. It's desiccated. So it has enough sugars to sustain it at the base. So the plant itself, the leaf, everything looks great. It's just not connected to anything. so yeah. So I'm gonna have fun setting those up, and I can't believe it. 3 of them for $8. So that happens a lot where you'll purchase one plant and there's more than one plant in there. And so sometimes if it's super cheap like that, it's definitely a great deal because that means you can let it acclimate and then separate it out. And then you have 2 of that plant. I wish I could find that with a copper spoon. I have not. I did find that with a silver spoon. I can show you real quick. So I had gotten this silver spoon a while back, and I am soon going to be separating them out. Here we go. So Um, this is the copper spoon, and this is a silver spoon. But look what how they did this in the in the nursery. So there's so many plants in here. So I've had it by my western window now for a couple weeks. So I am going to be separating them out. But there's so many plants in here. So um, here you can see there's one plant. Um, there's there's another plant here. I don't know why they did this, but they put a bunch of those leaves and I guess to propagate them, and then they left them like that. So they are starting to get baby plants, right? Because of the mother leaf. But there's so many silver spoons in here. And so this was $4. And so I grabbed it um, because I said, all right, I'm gonna let it acclimate, get nice and comfy in the house, and I haven't lost any leaves or anything, but it's squished. So I'm gonna be separating all of these out into their own pots. Um, because they need to be able to spread because as you see they spread like that. I think the most I would ever put in one pot is two. But somebody went to town on this and then left it like this. So I'm not complaining. I got it for $4 and there's like 5 or 6 plants that are at least now established, and then there's a bunch of leaves that are rooted and are going to be giving me plants too. So $4, $4. That's that's totally fine. So yeah, so I wanted to show you that. We had a marvelous time. Um, Absolutely gorgeous plants. Had so much fun. We were talking to fellow plant people when we were waiting for the Aqua Genera pop-up. There was a huge line that literally went around around the corner from the store. But it was nice connecting to other plant people and talking to folks when we were actually in there, and people were like asking questions about the plants and things like that, and we could all share like, oh yeah, I've had one, you should totally do this, or it was super nice. So I really love those pop-ups. And it's also an excuse to see some amazing plants. The pop-up was located at Brooklyn Horticulture, and they actually have this ginormous Thai constellation. Let me see. Here we go. It was so huge. Look at the size of that thing, that leaf. That's huge. Absolutely huge. It's not for was it for sale? I think it was for sale. I think I took a picture of the tag. Let me see here. Yeah, oh yeah, 1700. Um, I think I was taking a video of how big the leaves were compared to my hand. And then it had the tag. There you go. 1750, 1750. That ginormous monster of a plant. So no, that's definitely way off of our budget. We had budgeted for getting some of these plants. Um, so we knew in advance the ones that we found in the marketplace were definitely just really sweet finds. And yeah, so and petal is super cheap. So if you ever go to Union Square here in New York City, um, it's seriously super cheap. They have plants that are um, like eight three like this peperomia hope was $3, but they like the average is like $8, $6, $8, 10. Yeah, so they're super cheap, and I think even the big plants, like let's say like the golden dragon size, were like $28. So yeah. So all of these plants are currently going to be staying in our living room. Right now they're around my desk, but just for the class. But they're going to be moving back to where the bookshelves are, which is where I have them currently quarantining. And so we want to make sure that there's nothing. They all look great, and I did apply alcohol on them, but I want to make sure that yeah, there's nothing lingering on any of these, and so yeah, so they're going to be quarantined at least for another 2 weeks, so they'll get used to the house, and yeah, and then we will be putting them where we want to be putting them. So but we had a blast this weekend. We really replaced the ones that we lost and more, and then more. So yeah, so we're super excited. Um, oh, Sue, yes, no, I totally feel you. So yeah, I think it comes down to kind of weighing, well, if it's like a good deal or not, and if you're, willing, yeah, you're like, yeah, okay, I could do that. But yeah, I'm so happy when a lot of these plants that would otherwise be super expensive are like $20, $30, and it's like, ah, yeah, you can't you can't say no. It ends up being a super great find. Um, Oh, Judy. So Judy says she bought a copper spoon from Planet Desert, and it came with two in the pot. That's wonderful. Seriously, copper spoons are I think they are my favorite Kalanchoe next to the oak leaf Kalanchoe. Those I love those oak leaf Kalanchoes. I have a little one behind me. I have like also two or three of them. But this is just a baby with the oak leaf Kalanchoe. Love these. Love these. They're super fuzzy. And I love the shape. I love the shape of the leaf. How many new plants altogether did you and Brian get this weekend? So with the cuttings, there were 5 cuttings. So a mini orchid, which I think are several orchids, but I'm gonna count it as one. So 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20. I think 20. Um, yes, no, it was a lot of fun. It was super fun, and we of course saw plants that we were just drooling over that were just no. Like I saw this Hoya caudata. I love Hoya caudata. I had a cutting. It did not do really well. And because I got it, it had no roots. And I think that the substrate that it came in, I think it held on to too much water, and so the nodes started rotting on me, and I was really upset about that because I really like that Hoya. It's like super succulent. It's like super hard, but it had these edges that were it's like jagged. It looked super cool, like very dinosaur-y. And if you've been coming to these, I really like weird looking plants, especially. So I was really bummed about that. Um, but they had at Brooklyn Horticulture a pot of them, and so I had bought that cutting for $20. And so I looked at that pot and I said, "Wait, is that a caudata?" And they're like, "Yes." But when they brought it down, it was like $120. And so I just looked at it and I was like, no. As gorgeous as that is, I was like, no, that's way, no. So no. Um,
Can you hold up
Teresa,
that orchid
oh,
again? Sorry, will you hold up that orchid again? I don't see
oh,
that. The orchid?
the orchid?
Yeah, will you hold up that orchid again?
Yeah. Hold on, here we go. The Epidendrum Ivan Pertilli. And so this guy and this. So I took off the bottom piece of paper. It's all in sphagnum right now. So I'm going to be putting this in a little in a little terrarium. Uh, So gonna clean it up. Um, yeah, it's really beautiful. There were some really tiny orchids there, like this big. Um, and I was like, no, I'm gonna go with a larger one. Because I really want to do a terrarium project. I have uh, a little terrarium that has some moss in it, but I wanted to have another terrarium that I build out that has some different species of moss, but it's a little bit larger, and I wanted to put an orchid in there. So um, this is the first piece of that puzzle. I already have the container. It's a like a little terrarium that's upright, that's about that large, has like a little window that opens forward. It's super cool. Um, so I just have to get to work this week to set that up. And I have like the materials. I have the I just ordered new mesh between my drainage layer. So you put like a little layer of mesh. Um, and so then I can put the extra substrate on there. And I've been seeding new colonies of my dwarf isopods. So my little, they're like miniature roly-polies. And so I started off yet another colony. And so I'm going to seed then that terrarium as well. So then it'll have some. But yeah, this is where that's going to be going. So um, I was trying to see if I was going to put it on a piece of bark, but I actually saw this really cool thing where it was fastened. So I was looking up on YouTube about Porpax orchids, and somebody was using a type of grid that is used at the bottom of planted aquariums. And so they were using that to fasten their orchids to. They said the breathability is much better than the cork. Um, if you can do full soaks and you don't have to worry about the cork potentially getting mold or attracting fungus gnats or anything like that. So we have a 3D printer. And so we were actually thinking about potentially doing like a little grid or something like that and trying it out. So that might be something that we're gonna end up doing with this. But yeah.
Almost got campus will get this one. So that's how I'm going to. Oh,
And let me see. Teresa, what source is best to identify a plant and research the care it needs? That's a great question. So if you don't know your plants, right? If you're just starting out and you're not familiar with the different families or so I really recommend trying to get to know some of the top families of house plants. So try to familiarize yourselves with something like a monstera versus a philodendron. What are the differences? If you are into succulents, things like what's a euphorbia versus a cactus, maybe a crassula versus a kalanchoe, um, Hoyas versus the Chidias, things like that. So a couple of like the very common families like Epiprenums and Dracaena. Um, so species like that. So if you kind of know maybe like 10 families, it's very helpful because at least you will be able to know, all right, I can at least know it's in that family. This is definitely a philodendron. I don't know what type it is, but it's a philodendron. So that the goal is to at least get there where you can identify the family and that is very helpful. Now there are apps, but the apps aren't they're always very reliable. So I always recommend you just double check. If you get a result on an app, make sure you double check. And by double checking, there's so many great Facebook groups. So many wonderful groups. There's also Discord groups and things like that. And so I would recommend kind of finding a community. So find a community that you can then connect with. So for instance, if you know specifically that the plant's a philodendron, you can join a philodendron group and then post up a picture and say, hey, I found this philodendron. Does anybody know what type of species it is? Or, oh, my app is saying that it's this type of philodendron and I wanted to get some verification and kind of crowdsource it. That's the best. I still do that with species that I'm unsure of. I post it in discussion groups because there's some amazing hobbyists that are going to be much more effective than an AI still learning. Because there are some plants that look super, super similar, and you might end up getting a wrong um, a wrong identification, which is actually something that happened to um, a previous client of mine who got identification of what was a syngonium, an erythrophyllum. So it was this type of syngonium that I have. Hold on. So it was this type of syngonium, and their app said it was a micans, a philodendron micans, and so they were taking care of it like it was a micans, and it was just not doing very well. And she did understand why, because she said, "Well, I've been doing everything it says to do for philodendron micans," and when I saw the picture of the plant, I was like, this is a syngonium." So it's not a it's not a micans. And so I would always just double check, double check. In terms of researching care needs, thankfully, we have a very large library, many, many houseplant books. I've learned a lot also from my mother. I grew up in a home where where I grew up with plants around me. And so she definitely has imparted quite a bit of knowledge. And now she's back in Costa Rica, and her garden has exploded. So she's always sending me care tips or cool plants to see if I can find them here. But otherwise, yeah, also forums. I love looking into forums, especially when they're harder to find species. So there's a lot of folks that already show you exactly how they're taking care of them, what their humidity ranges are, and everything. There are some online that can be really helpful, like some kind of like databases with different houseplants and things. Those are great, and just to kind of but get you have don't just rely on one database. I would say go to like five or six and see if there's a consensus. Try to find also personal blogs. So sometimes people will post their kind of experience with a specific plant, like a care sheet, things like that. Look that up. And YouTube. YouTube is a wonderful resource for learning about specific plants that you want to add to your collection, and listen to some different videos, because a lot of folks will tell you about the great things, the pros and cons, maybe their own pitfalls. How did they end up killing the plant maybe, and how they've learned. So it's also a really, really great resource. So definitely check that out. Jamie is saying, are you ever going to run out of room? And when and when in the future you build your house, how will you move all your plants there? Great question. Yeah, I mean, right now we're making it work in terms of room. I've been going vertical, right? So I've been putting shelves on the walls, and doing that. Well, right now we're not planning to move from our apartment. We do have our home that we're working on in Costa Rica, but we wouldn't be able to bring our plants there. Um, and so the plan is to always have a place here and a place in Costa Rica for as long as we would be able to. And so if we were to leave our plants behind, we would have to leave them with someone, maybe who's like subletting or something, the home when we're not here, who is experienced. And or we would pay someone to check on the plants like once a week and see who needs what. But yeah, so I mean, I don't think I could ever. I don't want even to think about having to sell my collection. So we'll see, because we have other things too that would be very difficult for us to bring over to Costa Rica. I have a fossil collection, for instance, and with their rules and things, I might not be able to bring that over. Um, I have a seed library here. I wouldn't be able to take my seeds. And in our parrot, we have Julia, our parrot, and we wouldn't. They have instituted new laws in Costa Rica that you can't, yeah, you can't bring any birds in. And so we've had Julia now 8 years, and so there's no way. So I think we would have to leave her then with a family member when we're over there and then come back. Because we're thinking, I mean, this is still like 5 years out, um, maybe more, 5, 7 years out, where we would be staying there like 3 months here, 3 months there, 3 months here, 3 months there. But yeah, so we would have to leave her with like a family member. She loves my brother and his wife, and she loves my husband's family when his sister came to take care of her. So she would stay with the family member, and then we'd take her back when we're back home, and so on and so forth. So we'll see, because they're very long-lived animals, and we definitely don't want her to go to a completely different home. That's very stressful for them. So yeah. If we ever move from here, though, we would take everything. So we would make it work. So that would have to be a pretty extensively thought of plan, but everything would go. Absolutely. Um, so definitely. Um, oh, Sue says, when are you going to build on an addition for your plants? Oh, I wish. So this is our apartment. We can do certain things. We're allowed to like put shelves and things like that up, but no. But I would like to see if we get back to a place where we could have an office. And we had an office, and then stuff with COVID. Um, and so that was a really great space. And so we don't have that anymore, but it's actually still available. Nobody ever rented the space again. So Brian and I were talking about that. We're like, oh, if we were to get back to a place where we could comfortably afford that, to have that office space again, because it was all windows on one side, Western exposure. I had so many plants in that office. So that would be great. That would be great to have again, and that'd be great. I'm just looking here. Okay. Um, Oh, wonderful. So Brenda says, happy news to share. I asked a month ago a question about propagating a neon pothos that did not want to root. I moved the pothos to a south window and it grew thick roots finally. Thank you for your advice to move it into a brighter window. Oh, that's awesome. That's so, so awesome. And neon pothos are absolutely gorgeous. So if for folks who don't know what a neon looks like, so this is an example. This is a neon pothos here. So these are different varieties of pothos, but this is that neon. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm so happy it rooted for you because they're so beautiful, so so beautiful, and they do really well in windows. Super 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 well. Yes, Darlene, I've never seen a pot like this. So I mean, I've seen reservoir pots, of course, but not this reservoir pot. Even Brian was remarking that he's like, I've never seen a pot like that. So having that clear, so the pots that I have for some of my plants are indeed technically reservoir pots. I don't use them as a reservoir pot. So like here, if this will, there we go. So this is a reservoir pot. So when you pull this out, you can put a little cotton wick on the bottom here, and then you can fill up the reservoir. And I love these because they're flat on the back, so you can put them on the wall. So these are technically reservoir pots, but I've never seen one like that. And so I love it. I like that it's see-through too, because then it's easier for me to see when it when it is due for a refill. So I'm super excited with that pepperoni. It's so beautiful, and I'm excited. It's so gorgeous. It's so so beautiful. Sue, yes, maybe they missed. Yeah, maybe they missed our voices. Yes, that was such a bummer. Oof, so such a bummer to lose first with the thrips that we had to deal with. That's terrible. Thrips are the worst. I would rather have mealybugs. I would rather have I would rather have spider mites, quite honestly. than thrips. It was such a nightmare, such a nightmare. We had to bring in the reinforcements. I let go of like 1,500 ladybugs in here. Um, we had bought predatory mites. We had bought like larvae for like green lacewings and things. So we basically just dumped a bunch of beneficial insects all over our collection, and that's what saved our plants. Because they were getting just beat up by those thrips. So bad. And we had our trip planned already to Costa Rica. And so it was just really unfortunate that some of our plants were just starting to bounce back, but they're still in a very delicate kind of limbo state. And so when they really need that extra attention, but we had our trip to go to, so we left at a bad time for those that we had kind of set aside in our little hospital, plant hospital. And we ended up losing quite a few of them, so that really hurt. um we get very attached to our plants, um especially, we can remember like the stories of how they came to be with us. Sometimes they're gifts from people. Sometimes, you get them from a local seller and you end up striking a friendship and you're like, oh wow, and this is really nice, and you have this plant to care for. Sometimes if they're these unicorn finds, right? Like you find it in the back of like a shelf at a plant shop, and it's a super great deal. So, you get very attached to each and every one of these plants. And so when something happens and you lose one, it it's not pleasant. It's not pleasant. Anthony is saying, is there a money plant I can grow quickly to pay my taxes tomorrow? I wish. I wish. There are definitely plants, that house plants that are known as money plants, but unfortunately, they're not gonna help the wallet, unfortunately. Great question, Teresa. Why don't the roots tend to rot in reservoir pots? So this really depends on the species of plant. Um, and so the cotton wick, right? And so for instance, this is in pond. So it's not in a soil substrate. So this is pond. It's basically it's capillary action. So as the pond dries, it starts to get moisturized basically by the cotton wick. So it just kind of brings the moisture where it isn't. So thankfully with the pond, the base of the plant stays nice and dry. So that's usually where a lot of the rot will happen, is if the water is kind of stagnant above the root zone, and kind of in that the base, like where the root flare kind of is. Um, and that can come into contact with water, and if there's soil, especially, that's just a recipe for disaster, right? Because there is fungi and bacteria, microorganisms that are in that mix. And then when you have that water constantly there, it can cause some of that what it's coming into contact with to rot, especially if you have leaves and things like that, sometimes that are in the water, or below that water line. And then the microorganisms are like, it's go time, it's feast time, and they just do what they're meant to do, and they start to feed. And that ends up killing your entire plant. Now, the reason that reservoirs work with some species is they like wet feet. So this is just they're used to sitting in nice, evenly kind of distributed moisture, kind of in their soil. So they're kind of built like that. They're built to deal with it. I wouldn't recommend reservoirs for certain succulents. I wouldn't, not for like a cactus. They don't want to stay evenly moist at all times. They want to completely go bone dry and then get water. Certain species, things like a pothos might benefit from that. Even like a green vining philodendron. Um, but not the larger philodendrons. I don't think that they would like that too much. Monstera, if you already had it kind of in a water propagation, and maybe you were trying to kind of do a a transference, like a nice transition from water to soil mix. You could do a type of reservoir kind of like that so that it maintains that evenly moist kind of substrate for it so that it roots, it kind of transitions a little bit easily. So there are some benefits, but it really depends on the type of plant because some plants do not want you to do that. Absolutely not. They will rot immediately. And so it really has to do a lot with your substrate. It has to be a very well draining, airy type of substrate. Um, pon is great, leca is great as well. And so it's never going to be fully saturated. It's just going to keep that moisture towards the base close to the actual root parts rather than the upper areas of the plant that would rot if continued contact with water. So I hope that helps. What are your thoughts on lava balls? I think they're called they're brown miscellaneous small type balls instead of dirt in pots. Yeah, there are quite a couple things. I use leca and lava rock. They're great for hydroponic propagation. I actually just started using this too. So I'm gonna let you know how it goes because I just started using it like this last week. So I don't really have any commentary at the moment on it. But I think you can see it through here. You see it, they look really pretty. And it's like ceramicite. It's ceramics, but they're little balls. I got the multicolor one because I thought that looked really pretty. And it's supposed to work similarly to leca, but it's meant for moisture control. So, there's so many fun things. I like working with pon. Um, I want to work with stratum, and so that is a black type of substrate. There are these little. So I really want to work with stratum to see, how it fares. I love experimenting, so every time I see like a new product, if I can get my hands on it, I'm trying to do that. So I'll let you know how this works out, but this is called it's like ceramsite or ceramicite. So it's like a play on the word ceramics. So um I'll let you know how that goes. And right now I filled it up to like where it kind of was like felt like it was about here. Yeah. So I didn't fill it all the way. And I did put a base of leca before I put the rest of the little ceramic balls. I put some chunky leca at the bottom because I didn't want them to like sit on in water directly. So I kind of did a little layered thing. Um, oh, yes. So, Holly, yes. So I use leca. I'll put that in the chat. And then I don't know, what is this? Ceramicite or ceramsite? Let me. Cer Ceramsite. There we go. I'm gonna put that in here, but it's ceramsite. So that's what. Um, and I got the multicolored ones, but they're basically the same thing. They're clay, very similarly to leca. So they're nice and porous. So that's why I really wanted to play with them. So lava rock too. Lava rock tends to be very porous, and so it's breathability, right? It's better breathability. So there's more gas exchange. I recommend that highly versus something that would be solid. So like river stones, pebbles, things like that don't have that kind of porous nature. It can trap water in places as well. And it can also cause dehydration if you have too many pieces blocking off a section of your roots, for instance, the water can't effectively get to your roots. So you want something that air and water can travel through. And so I really, really do recommend something like using lava rock or leca and things like that. Uh, Judy's asking, can you mix leca with potting soil? Absolutely. So a lot of my mix, I use leca in there. So I use that as my grit. So to kind of give it right pockets of air, I will mix things like perlite, leca in there. Perlite is also very porous. Leca, I will put also a little bit of poultry grit, but that's really, really tiny. It's really smashed to a point where it's not going to cause too much issue. So yeah, so I put that in there, but that's like the grit, that's like the rockiness that I put in there to give it more of an airy, kind of bounce. Yes, I definitely mix leca in with my mixes for not only my succulents, but also with our aroids, with our philodendrons, our Hoyas. Well, our Hoya's not an aroid, but our Hoyas are and our aroids like our philodendrons and our monstera. Definitely do that in there. Um, and yeah, even with our Adansonii, our epiprenums, so they all have leca in there. I even put leca in with my snake plants. So I have quite a few varieties of snake plants, and they all have leca mixed in with their with their substrate. Let me see. Tanya, what is the difference between thick white roots and thick white fussy roots? Fuzzy, I think fuzzy roots. Yes, great question. Um, you, so there are different types of roots. So if a plant is propagated through like vegetative propagation, that means it's a fresh cut, right, from a node for a plant that can be propagated that way, and then from there it starts to root. The first roots that emerge from a cut, like a propagation, right? Those are known as wound roots, like a wound, like an open wound. But scientifically, they're known as adventitious roots. And so these are roots where the plant, is just trying to survive. So, and especially if it's in water, they tend to be very fine roots, very easily able to imbibe water. Um, and they usually are generated fairly quickly. So it's very, very different than like the soil roots that tend to be generated a little bit much more slowly, but they're thicker. They're covered in these really sensitive root hairs. And so the big difference is when you're seeing these teeny tiny, very thin, they might be fuzzy roots. Those tend to be water roots. So they are not intended to go through the drying and moistening cycle that you would see in a substrate. So with a substrate, you want roots that are nice and thick, that are able to kind of imbibe, so they take in that moisture, and they kind of are able to store that and be nice and supple. Because then, when it dries, they still have some of that moisture. They have that built up energy to kind of stay nice, and then they get water, they're fine, and so on. These thin little water roots, as soon as it dries out, they will just completely desiccate. They will just dehydrate, become like little sticks. They are not meant to be out of the water. Even like a 24 hours out of the water will kill a bunch of your water roots. So it's just, they're not meant for that. So you want to wait if you are propagating a plant until you start to see those really thick roots that have those hairs around them. So that is what is going to be effectively able to, and sometimes it takes a while for those to be generated. So you might end up having something that has a bunch of roots and there are a bunch of just water roots. And then you'll start to see, oh, wow, like it got a bigger soil root that, one or two roots that are just for soil roots. And then they'll come much farther down the line, and that's because it takes a lot of energy to generate those. So these little roots, these adventitious roots don't take as much energy, so that's why they come out really quickly. But then as they are doing their job, they're taking up water, and the plant is starting to grow, is starting to photosynthesize, it's building up more sugar reserves and energy reserves, right? What happens is now it's like, okay, I got more energy, so you'll start to see that more roots are being produced, then more growth is being produced, and so it's getting to that point where it's having more energy. And so it takes a lot of energy to make those type of roots. So that's why they won't come out right away. But yeah, so and what ends up happening is when you do a transition between a water propagation to a substrate, all those water roots will die off. So you want to make sure that you have at least like two roots that are meant for soil to be there, to just, give you a better chance at having a successful transition. Because if you just have water roots and you put that into soil, they're all gonna die. All those roots are gonna die, and your plant's basically starting again from zero. And so it can be very frustrating, because then it's like, oh well, all over again. All of that root growth was for nothing. So you want to make sure you wait. Sometimes those white water roots might get super long, and there's like this common thing where people say, oh, wait till it's like 2 inches or 3 inches long, and then go ahead and propagate. Wait until your soil roots are that large. Those water roots might grow very, very quickly, but they're not the same. They're not the same. Um, so yeah, so be careful with that. Um, Let me see. Yes, yes. Someone said it's great. That Brian and I both love plants, and it's great, and it's also it's also problematic because we'll both end up getting plants. Um, and so yes, it is great, and at the same time, it's like, oh. um, but no, it's wonderful, and we both love learning about plants. We do watch a lot of plant tubers, so whenever we're doing chores around the house, we're doing plant care, watering, or cleaning up plants, things like that. We always love to watch a bunch of plant tubers, especially like Kaylee Ellen. We love Kaylee Ellen, and so we definitely have plant tubers that we put on to watch while we're doing things, and it's always really great to see even like new species. It ends up giving us ideas for our wish list, which again is really bad because there's two wish lists in this house. So um, so yeah, that can oof, it can be really, really problematic. But yeah, oh, actually I have it next to my desk. So I have to because we picked it up yesterday. So I need to put this stuff away. I have a Target bag next to my desk, and we bought this. So we made a Target run. And I got these. They were $5, and I just thought they were super cute. So I'm gonna put them in our bedroom for decor, because I just thought they were so pretty. But these are fake. So these are just. So I'm thinking, I don't know if I might cut this or if I will use this. I'm not sure, but I really wanted to use these as a decor. So we do have elbows. We have a big tie constellation, um, but these were just really, really pretty. So I might use them for something fun in the room. I was thinking maybe, like by the windows or something cool to use these because they were just so pretty. So these are available at Target now, if you want to get them. And then we have these little propagation stations in our living room, but they're away from the windows, and so I have silk plants in there. So they're not real plants, but I love finding the like the plants that they make out of like plastic and silk that look really pretty. So I picked these up to put in there. So this one is like a little, these were $1 each. So this is like a little fern, and then a little tulip, which I thought was really pretty. And yeah, I'm not sure what this is supposed to be. It just says a white flower. It can be a couple different species. I'm not sure. But this to add to that little propagation station thing that I have up. Um, because I have a bunch. I have like a silk violets there. I have like a silk stromanthe and a silk fig leaf and things like that in there. So yes, we have a lot of planty decor. So yeah, that would be that is a really great suggestion, Connie. My favorite plant tubers. Yes, yes. I can totally do that. I'll put together a list. Because yeah, we watch quite a few. I really love it, it's something that I love to put on. Just even in the background while I'm working. I work from home most of the time, so I'll kind of have that on the TV while I'm doing that. But yeah, so like yeah, definitely Kaylee Ellen. I like Plantarina. Um, Sometimes there's some confusion. Um, but I overall I think Plantarina is pretty funny. I like her. And yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple. Yes, there are definitely some funny ones. Absolutely, absolutely. Um, and so I like, yeah, I really like her just like overall demeanor, Plantarina. Um, but yeah, I have quite a few, so I subscribe to a bunch. Over the weekend, that one of the YouTubers that actually looked up his video on this type of orchid. I was very sad because I saw that video. I thought it was great. So I went to his video list and I was looking at a few of them and I was like, wow, I was showing Brian in the car and I was like, yo, listen, this is great. Like this is really good. And I looked at just the videos overall and it said that 4 years ago he posted that was his last video and I was like, oh man, I found this. Whoop, here we go. I froze. I froze. But yes, I was really upset. I said, wow, I found a new plant tuber and he's no longer putting out content. So, I mean, there's still amazing videos, but everything is 4 years and up. So very, very sad. But there's so many. There's so many plant tubers. So I will definitely set that aside, and make a list for everyone to check out because there's some really good stuff. I can also make a list of some of my favorite resources for getting um, yeah, for finding out like care for plants. And again, I if you're going to look up on the internet anything about certain species, just do check multiple places. So don't rely on one place, right? Sometimes there are some databases that I have found that they use kind of like a template. And so they give very kind of generic answers, right? And so it can be really confusing because it'll maybe say the exact same thing for all the peperomia. For instance, it'll say the same type of light, the same type of humidity, and the same type of watering, which is not the case because a lot of peperomia is a big family and they have a lot of different watering needs. Like the ripple peperomia are going to need watering sometimes like once a week, while other ones like a tussifolia, the more succulent types, you don't want to water them every week. You want to water them maybe every 2 weeks or so. Um, but I've seen that in a couple of databases where they kind of copy and paste the same thing across families, and that's not how that works. Um, that's why I really recommend check at least five, and you can do different ones. So maybe check like a blog, check a database, check a plant tuber, like that. Maybe go and find a discussion forum on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, try to find a group. So maybe if you're really into peperomia and that's what you're collecting at the moment, then find a peperomia lovers group and ask your questions there or search through, look up the name of the plant and see if you can find that in there. So just find at least five different references, because they're, to see what if you found any consistency and what's like the average kind of approach, versus, finding one thing and then you don't check, right? And so it's definitely multiple teachers. always recommend multiple teachers because everyone's approach is different and what might work for one person, right? Um, so for instance, I'm here in New York City. We get very cold winters, very hot summers. So for me, maybe in my summer, something it might get hot enough where I find myself watering certain species much more often, versus maybe your summer is not as hot. So your plant is not drying out as quickly as mine would be, right? So just always take into account these types of things. So, not all summers are are the same, not all winters are the same. And yeah, everybody's approach is slightly different. So, definitely find a bunch of different resources. Oh, so Judy is asking, what do you think about the spruce? I have looked up things on the spruce. Pretty good. Nothing too. I don't think I've ever had an issue with anything I've found on this spruce. They have some nice information on there. Yeah, yeah, the spruce is pretty good. Yes, Brenda, very good. So I use the spruce a bunch and then I look for at least another source. Perfect. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Sue. Thank you so much. Yeah, super excited to get these guys acclimated. Um, where I sprayed all of them with alcohol already upon entering the house, but I need to give everybody a nice wipe down. So that's going to be happening the next few days. So I'll be taking each plant, giving them a nice wipe down. For those that need to be watered, giving them a nice water, but just really giving them a thorough check. And then I'll be doing that every couple days until I'm kind of certain that they're good. And so at least 2 weeks are going to have to pass before I can really start to introduce them to our other plants because I don't want to risk um, introducing anything to the rest of our plants. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty excited. So the only one I'm really going to be playing with is that broken fuzzy petiole. If you weren't here earlier, I found this guy for $8, and there's 3 plants in here. But this one arrived like this, so it's holding on by a dead root. And yeah, the rest. This is a brand new leaf. Looks really beautiful, but the base has seen better days. So this one I will be cutting and just starting in brand new substrate. And then I'll wait for these other sections to settle in before I mess with them. Um, but yeah, this one's really, really pretty. And so it has this leaf, and I think it has another, yeah, it has like a little leaf here at the butt base as well. Um, so really pretty. The leaf hasn't hardened off. This is a fresh leaf. So I'm going to put this into substrate and hopefully it doesn't lose this big leaf uh, before it kind of starts shooting out new growth because this is super cool. I really, really like this one. Fuzzy petioles are just super cool. As you can see, the fuzz, super neat. They are a really, really cool philodendron. Um, the serpens is like that too, where it has that fuzziness. Holly is asking, what is the ratio of rubbing alcohol to water to spraying plants that are new to your house? Great question. So I use 70% rubbing alcohol. Um, I do have 90%, but I don't use that on the plants necessarily. I use the 70%. And so most of my little spray bottles are straight alcohol. They aren't diluted. The ones that I have set aside here for plants specifically, so I walk around with alcohol all the time. So to spray my hands, especially when I'm outside, if I'm touching anything, I'm on the subway, I'm at a restaurant, I always spray my hands with alcohol. I spray the top of the table. I think it was something I picked up during COVID, and like the beginning of lockdown was spraying everything with alcohol, and that has stayed. So I spray everything. I spray myself with alcohol several times a day. And my hands are fine. They never dried out. And so I'm like, okay, well, But for the ones that I have here set aside with the plants, I do fill it about like 1/4, the little spray bottle, 1/4 with water, and then the rest is alcohol. But otherwise, straight. I've been using pretty straight alcohol with them, and it's 70%, 70% alcohol. And I have never had an issue with plants that I have sprayed alcohol with in terms of burning or anything like that. And I've sprayed even like begonias, Pelias, um, yeah, even the oblique, like our our Monstera oblique, um, and yeah, never had an issue with spraying our plants with rubbing alcohol. Now, if you're doing it for the first time, though, I would advise to do a test spot. So spray maybe one of your leaves or like a section of the plant, and then see how it reacts. Like wait 24 hours, see if anything happens. Rubbing alcohol dries super quickly. It's not something that stays on the plant and continuously burns the plant. It evaporates. It's very volatile, so it evaporates very, very quickly. And then that's it. So it doesn't stay on your plant for a really long time. So I think that that's why it doesn't like cause damage like something else that would kind of maintain viscosity and like stay on that plant for a while. So it's not something that's gonna protect you from pests in terms of, oh, I'm gonna spray it and now pests aren't gonna come to it. It's more of a preventative where I spray it in case it has any pests or the beginnings of pests. So sometimes a lot of offspring for like thrips or spider mites or even mealybugs, they're translucent. They haven't kind of matured and have like harder bodies that now you can actually see. And so I like spraying my plants so that if there are any of these little critters running around that I don't want, I spray them. Usually the contact with alcohol kills them immediately. And so that for me it's more so like that. So it's not where it's going to ward bugs off or anything, but it will kill any if they're there. So I try to do it pretty regularly for that reason, um, just to make sure. And I like to spray all the plants before they enter the house. So, so again, it's just we're starting off a little bit better. Maybe if there was anything on there, it maybe at least kind of pushed it back, lessen the infestation. Um, so and then I keep watch. So, but yeah, so that's what we usually do with the new plants. But I hope that's helpful. Neem oil. So I had jumped on the neem train like in 2015, 2016. Um, and the issue with neem, well, one, it has a very strong smell. So some folks don't like that. Its strong smell is not bad for me, at least. But the problem I found out with neem is if it's not diluted enough, it can get very gunky, and this can actually choke out the stoma in your plant. So plants have stomatas, so these little pores that help them kind of also like breathe. So they exit, to remove excess carbon dioxide as well, take in oxygen, also remove extra moisture, extra water they're not using when they transpire. And what ends up happening is if you block those pores, the plant can't work effectively, it can't photosynthesize effectively, and that leaf can go. So that's one problem if it's not diluted enough. Two, once it dries, it really doesn't do much. It has to still be kind of in that like waxy state for it to be effective in terms of fighting off pests. And then three, the issue I found was that it makes your plants much more photosensitive. So it makes plants burn. So if you apply neem, you're actually supposed to remove the plant from direct sunlight for sometimes 5 to 7 days. Remove it from direct sunlight, and then put the plant back. But if you're continuously using neem on your plant, you can't put it back by the window if you had it by the window or if you have a grow light. Because if you keep using the neem, you have to keeping the plant away from light for like a week at a time every time. And so it was very frustrating because I was like, well, then, this if I put it back by the window, then I get a burned plant. So those are my three reasons why I stopped using neem. So the fact that it could block my plant's pores, that it's not very effective once it's dry, and three, it makes your plants much more photosensitive, which was more frustrating than anything, right? Because it's like, well, I have to move them, I have to find a new place for them, and then if you're continuously treating them, they kind of have to live in that alternate place. You can't put them back where they belong. Um, and yeah, and when you have a lot of plants, it's like really frustrating because you're like, well, that's not where it goes, and now it's like in a place where maybe you didn't have a plant. Um, and you want to put it back where it belongs, but then you can't. So yeah. Oh, but you're all very welcome. Thanks so much. It's okay, so it's 1:02, so I'll hop off. But I really, really appreciate you tuning in. I hope this was helpful. By all means, please, send me ideas for upcoming sessions. That's always that's always welcome. You can always drop them in the chat. Yeah, and I'll post a replay later today in the Facebook group. Um, if for any reason you ever need access to the replays and you don't, you can just let me know. But yeah, thank you so much for joining. This is always like the highlight of how I start off my week. It's like I start off my week really, really well when I connect with everyone. So it's a nice way to start Mondays. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday and the rest of your week. Yeah, and I hope you'll turn up next week for our open forum. And if you ever want to talk about any topics, if you ever want to maybe show your collection or give a little class even or anything like that, just let me know. Let me know. We can totally do that. So I would love to have like guest teachers and folks, showing off their collections and things like that. Absolutely. So please feel free. And we can totally set that up. So no worries. Yes, Nancy, that's a good one on fiddle leaf. Yes, the fiddle leaf plant. Yeah, I'll do a class on ficus for everyone. Because yeah, the figs are very, very fussy plants, but very lovely plants. Gabby, yes, is show and tell. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to do that. Yeah, for folks to show their collections. Brian and I are going to be working on an updated list of all of our plants as well. So once we have that, I'm happy to share that too, so that you guys see the varieties we have. So in case you have them, you can see that we have them, and then it's kind of easier for folks when they have like very specific questions. Well, yeah, so I thought that might be helpful, and also to kind of show how we would organize it and things like that. So once we're finished with that list, I'll I'll share that out. But all right, thanks so much, everyone. It's always very lovely, and yeah, I'll see you next week. Have a great one. Ah, thank you, darling.